This is Jay's third attempt at launching his Phobos.
The last time, I tried it the first time with a single piece of thermalite. The second time I tried it, I put in a triple piece of thermalite. And both times the igniter lit, but the motor didn't go.
Right.
So it's like, for whatever reason, the propellant inside the motor doesn't want to ignite. So it came with an Aerotech igniter. We'll try it. See what the factory says.
Okay, give it a shot.
Yeah, the core inside this motor is really big. It's about the size of a pencil. It's an ISP motor.
Uh-huh. What do you call this bird?
Phobos.
Phobos.
I name all mine after celestial objects or satellites of planets. Take 3. To say about 3's a charm, huh?
That's right.
So we'll find out one more time. Worst thing is, you know, my adrenaline's going 10,000 miles high. Pulse rate's about 360 the first 2 times I tried launching the damn thing. Now I gotta try it again. I'm gonna have a heart attack waiting for the damn thing to fly.
This is Jay Orr's pink and white Phobos scratch built with ISP I-211. Pad number 11. 2, 1, launching. Well, we're getting some nice straight flights today. Shoots out. Looks like everything's in the same stream.
Big shoot.
Oh, is that a rail?
Pad number 7. Looks like a recycle.
This is CCA, material rocket,
With a pilot.
call it Excalibur. It's 11 foot 4 inches in length, 8 inches diameter. It's being flown on a Vulcan K500 motor.
Well, guys.
Electronic ejection, donated by Rosemary Research, Brian Tripp. Brian Tripp painted it for me, again. Thank the guy a million times. My mom cut out the lettering and the sword for the decal. And my dad suffered the whole time.
It's going to be on 14 instead of 15.
And thanks to CCA. This is basically a prototype model. Hopefully they'll think about making it into a kit.
You're using the engine's injection charge?
No.
No. Timer?
That's a backup.
The engine has a 15-second. I set the timer at 10. I didn't want to have to mess with adjusting the motor delay on it. Yeah. Somebody can grab the cradle. I want somebody else to carry the cradle.
How about parachutes?
It's got a 12-foot chute in it.
Just one?
Yeah. I didn't want to chance multiple chutes.
Did you run a computer simulation on this, Don?
Yeah.
What'd you get?
Weighing at 25 pounds, which it doesn't, it probably weighs about 30, 32. It came up 37, almost 3,800 feet. Probably about 35. Okay, well this is arming the rocket.
What exactly are you arming, Don?
Electronic ejection timer donated by Mike Tripp, Rosemary Research, rockets for the ejection timer on it. This will be the shorter of the 2 ejections, the primary ejection, and the motor is set at 15 for a backup, just because I didn't feel like having to put Mike through delaying, shorten the delay on the Vulcan motor.
How are you doing first motion?
The first motion is activated by a roller rocker switch that as the rocket leaves the launch rod, the roller rocker switch is under the launch rod and then it is activated. In the event that it doesn't leave the rod, we won't stand out here and watch my bulkhead pop off.
Ready to rock and roll!
You gonna arm it?
Come back to me, Papa. Yeah, it's on. It's ready.
2, 1, launching.
Here we go.
Anytime. Now. Anytime. Come on. Too late. Sorry about that, Don. After all, Don, that's what everybody was out here waiting to see.
Good job, blowing the towel. Oh my God.
I'm sorry, man. I'm really sorry. That was too beautiful. Oh, too beautiful. Oh, great. How much time did you have it set for?
2 seconds after.
Okay, you guys out there on pad 6, you about ready? Okay, out on pad number 6. We have...
A million pieces.
It's fine. You can fix it.
Jeez.
Check out the nose cone detonated. There's pieces of it laying around.
I don't think that motor performed like it was supposed to.
Sure didn't look like it. Sure didn't get much altitude for a K motor.
What was the weight on it?
Around 30 pounds.
30 pounds?
Want to hold the
Got the chute in there?
hold the guts.
Both ejections failed, or just was it too long?
They were too long. They got high enough in the air for it to be up there for 15 seconds.
Boy, I tell you, for the job I did building it, it sure didn't take long to disassemble it.
Sometimes Rocketeers predict the destiny of their own flights. Listen to what Gary Berg has to say about his rocket.
3 J220 White Lightnings.
Mom.
270 pounds of thrust.
This year's scope.
4.5 seconds. Computer readout right around 10,500 feet.
Sounds like it should be a great launch. Longest
Tried
flight.
to launch it at Oktoberfest. It got too windy with 3 I-115s. Then bigger's better, so I put J's in it. If you're gonna kill it, overkill it.
Next launch will be on pad number 11. This is Gary Berg's Candy Burgundy Flameout. It's a LOC King Viper with 3, count them, 3 J220 White Lightnings. This is a heads-up flight. Smoke. Steady up, boy, steady up. Ejection. That was a nice paint job, Gary.
What a Bondo will fix it.
Lots of Bondo and fiberglass will take care of that.
Gary Berg's rocket flew poorly because only one of 3 engines ignited. John Barrientos and John Sehan flew one of the largest motors ever at Lucerne.
John turned the nose cone, he cut the fins, and I put it all together.
And,
It's kind of a group project.
and how long is it going to burn?
Got a 3-second burn, about 1,800 pounds of thrust for 3 seconds, and it's a N1500.
This is quite an
And
internet.
Projected
and
altitude, the projected altitude through the computer anyways came out to 48,000
Okay.
feet.
Well, what
I
I'd
don't
like
think
to
it'll
know
go
is
that far,
the big popular question around here, do you have a parachute for safety purposes?
Yeah, of course we do. We always have parachutes.
Great.
We
Of
course.
always
Great.
We have
exercise.
2 gigantic chutes.
This is
Alright.
quite an introduction for a couple rank
That's right.
amateurs.
Are we ready?
All
Let's do
right.
We
it.
have all the
Let's do
confidence in the
Go
world.
team!
Hold still.
Well, good luck and
Thanks, Kyle.
Okay, this is John Barrientos and John Sehan. Okay, range is clear. We got an orange and black. This is a home built that he calls a Saddam suppository. Okay. Psych is clear. We're going.
Heads up!
Heads up. Nothing short of awesome.
That is definitely a crowd stopper. Good job. Watch for it.
Heads up! Okay, heads up on that bad boy. Should come down considerably far to the north.
John, very nice, buddy. Very stable, very stable. Shovel isn't even picked that one up.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
It's gone.
Yeah, it'll be coming back here ere long. If it goes up, it's going to come down.
Ballistic.
That was insane.
Yeah.
That was bad.
That was definitely
Damn scud.
That was bad. That thing flew straight, boy. That was great.
Nice slow liftoff too.
Yeah, I was a little worried. I thought it was gonna poof out there on the pad, but
That's great.
It's great.
built up thrust and off it went.
Held
Yeah.
long enough for me
That
to
thing
zoom out.
burned great. Serious flame. Yeah.
Tough break, Myron. Sorry to see that.
Too bad we couldn't see it come down though. That thing's
Got to
gone.
be down by now. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's on the other side of the mountain. Killer. That was hot.
That was great.
Yes, that was definitely cool.
Bill Morrow's beautiful e-ticket was approximately 12 feet long and 6 inches in diameter.
Gary here gave me the name for it. E-ticket being the best ride in the house. Hopefully it will be. This is the biggest project I've ever undertaken. We got probably 9 months of work in this. Getting a lot of butterflies. It's got a lot of motors in it. It's not underpowered by any means. The booster here's got a K900 booster in the middle from Aerotech, and 2 US Rockets I-110s, 2 Vulcan G80s, and 12 Estes D12s, with a whole bunch of thermalite and flash bulbs. If we can get them all to light, we'll have about 270 pounds of thrust. The rocket only weighs 50 pounds, so that's plenty.
Hey, Bill?
Yeah.
Why don't you stand up next to your rocket there?
Okay. The next stage has 1 J220 and 2 US Rockets I-150s. That's an awful lot of power too. So if we can get that to light, it should be a real good flight. It's staged electronically with Moose Engineering electronic device with a 1-second delay between separation. And also has a Moose Engineering ejection timer for backup ejection, just to make sure we get the nose off of it. That's about the scuttlebutt of it. We're getting ready to launch here in a few minutes.
Any idea how much money you put into this project?
It's close to $1,000 in motors. There's at least $300 in paint and primer. And the kit was $200 itself, and then all my time, whatever that's worth. So there's a lot invested here. Either it's going to be a great flight or it's going to be one big disaster. Yesterday we found it was unstable. We found the center of pressure was in front of the center of gravity. So we had to take the nose cone off, and I added 5 pounds of famous Lucerne dirt to it and seal it back up, and we moved the CG 18 inches doing that.
4, 3, 2, 1, launch.
Good. Yeah, I did.
I know you guys.
Second stage didn't go.
No, timers didn't work.
Yeah. It's all been paid.
Hey, you David?
Yes.
I am George Morgan.
I bet I've been
At the launch ceremony.
Bill finds the booster section undamaged.
No, one didn't light. One I-110 didn't light.
Even though one I-110 engine in the booster didn't ignite, the rocket wouldn't have gone much higher with the extra thrust. Now Bill will examine what remains of the upper stage. Bill finds the second stage ignition problem. Power was not applied to the flash bulbs.
Either the acceleration of the rocket dislodged the batteries, or the batteries went dead overnight.
Sticks and dirt.
Yep.
Ashes to ashes, dust to dust.
Dearly beloved, we're gathered here today.
Stick cat in the ground for the cross.
Someone said to me yesterday, what was that ballast you put in the nose cone? I said, it's loose in dirt. I said, you know, if you do that, it's going to go back where it came from.
It's returned.
Look at that. Right back where it came from.
In the first discussion about solid propellant rocket engines, total impulse and motor classification was discussed. 2 A engines equal the total impulse of 1 B engine. 2 B engines equal the total impulse of 1 C engine, and so forth. The letter designation tells us an engine's total impulse classification. A C engine is rated at 5 to 10 Newton seconds. The number to the right of the total impulse classification is the average thrust of the engine, rounded to the nearest Newton. A C6 engine has an average thrust of 5.86 newtons. You can see the engine's thrust plotted over time. It's called a thrust time curve. The C6 motor has an initial spike rising to 13 newtons, then it settles down to a constant thrust of almost 6 newtons. The C6 engine burns for 1.7 seconds. Compare the C6 engine to an H motor. It takes 32 C motors to equal the total impulse of 1 H motor. The thrust time curve for an H150 looks different than a C6 motor. The average thrust for an H150 is 150 newtons. The thrust of the H150 is quite flat over its burn, with a 300 newton spike at the beginning and a taper at the finish. An H150 has a shorter thrust time than a C6. It only burns for 1.2 seconds. In comparison, a C6 motor burns for 1.7 seconds. From the graph, we know the average thrust of the H150 is 150 newtons, and the thrust time is 1.2 seconds. We can calculate the total impulse of the motor by multiplying the two numbers together. The total impulse of an H150 is 180 newton seconds. An H motor's range is between 160 to 320 newton seconds. The H150 would be considered a low H since its total impulse is 180 newton seconds. Using the average thrust designation printed on the engine, the total impulse can be calculated if the thrust duration is known, or the burn time can be calculated if the total impulse is known. Frank Cosden, engine manufacturer, Chuck Mund, rocket scientist, and Kyle Surge, filmmaker, held Einstein 1 weeks after Winterfest. Frank and Chuck tested new motor designs. Frank's motors performed well. Unfortunately, his rockets were not constructed as well as his motors.
This is like a reloadable G150 fiberglass motor casing, and there's a phenolic nozzle in it with an aluminum adapter, an aluminum nose cone, and it's in a minimum diameter G12 fiberglass casing with an aluminum nose cone. I'm trying to get rid of some old propellant here, so I hope it works. If the propellant's up to standards. What else to say?
The delay time on this engine?
Delay time is probably about 10 to 12 seconds, so I hope that's not too long. But if the rocket hits the ground first, because of its construction, I don't think there'll be much damage.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Called drag separation, Frank.
Is it gonna miss me?
Yeah, you're okay.
Face of the guilty shall be protected. According to Chuck, Chuck Munn, what happened there was that the nose cone was on too loose, so right after burnout, there was drag separation because the drag on the rest of the rocket body was higher than the nose cone. So I pulled the nose cone off, the aluminum nose cone off, which came, ripped the shock cord. So the nose cone came down with the shock cord attached. And, the rocket, kept flying. And the ejection charge went off on the air, but it didn't do any good at that point. So at least the thing went like at least it was going like a bat out of hell. I mean, would have been like a really good flight. Kyle thought it was going to eject before it hit the ground. We would have been wrong. Okay, I'll try it again with next time we'll increase the friction between the rocket body and the nose cone. Core sample.
The fiberglass body tube is very strong, surviving the impact undamaged. The launch is held at Lucerne on the first Saturday of every month. Every Rocketeer brings rockets and a launch system. The Lucerne Prefect launch system is not used at the monthly launches. Generally, the rockets and crowds are smaller at the monthly launches than the Lucerne National launches. At the monthly launches, engine manufacturers test new motor designs, and Rocketeers have fun. Bill Morrow, Gary Berg, and Randy Berg love racing their Phoenix birds.
We're at it again. Yes, here at wonderful Lucerne. Dueling Phoenixes.
You just won't give up on these Phoenixes, will you?
Well, these damn Estes kids, we're always trying to trash them. That's just the way life is. You just try to shred them. So we got, see, what do we got? We got an H120, we got a G80 and a G42. And
which one's yours?
I thought you had the G80. G60, sorry. I got the G42, White Lightning. So we should have some nice smoke and a nice crisscross pattern.
Mine's got a suppository in it. It's preparation H.
Yeah,
H120.
You have a smoke in it?
Yeah.
And mine's black smoke, his is white. All you need now is color.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, ignition.
Fireworks!
Hey, that looks cool.
Just like the Blue Angels.
Those were really stable.
One's down. That one's history.
Alex.
No, mine's right there.
Yay!
Yeah, we're having a Phoenix drag race. The rocket on the left's got a G42 in it. The rocket on the right's got an H240 in it. Plenty of weight in the nose cone.
And who is the maniac with the 240? Raise his hand. Yeah, Randy! Wow, man!
Well, it's an experimental launch site, so let's experiment.
Yeah, that's right, you're right.
He just wanted to build another Phoenix.
You're right, absolutely.
Sure?
So how much buckshot you got in the nose?
Wow, man!
Enough for about 40 quail.
He's got about a pound of shot in the nose cone.
Yeah, that's about a pound, maybe more. It's about that deep in the nose cone.
Since the Phoenix is a short, stubby rocket, nose weight is needed for stability.
I'm the other half of the Phoenix race here. I tried to get an I-150 in it, but we popped the nose cone off because it was too long. So I had to hold back with the G42. It was the only thing I could get to fit. I'm going to lose the race, but I think mine will stay together. Here we go.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go!
Another launch, 2 Phoenix birds and Gary Berg's modified Lock 4. Here's Gary.
It's gonna shred.
And why is that?
H640. 240 pounds of thrust at like 0.49 seconds. It's gonna be like a bomb going off.
That sun's starting to beat on you now?
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. This one's mine.
over there to the left by the sun.
We're at it again for the 4th time. It's dueling Phoenixes. Only down to 2 because everybody else is left. But it's calm, it's clear, and we're here. So let's fly.
Dueling Phoenixes.
Phoenixes,
Yeah.
G42s each.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, ignition.
That was a good one.
Yeah.
Nice.
Almost synced.
You put down and link together.
Uh-oh. One.
Hey, Billy, you're gonna be Billy.
Goodbye.
Yeah.
Crowd pleaser. That looked great. Sort of remind me of them daredevils with their parachutes, man. Wait till the last moment.
That looked great.
That looked great. Just great, just great.
Oh, everybody get this on camera.
Very pretty.
Good flight.
Good flight.
Very pretty.
Thanks. I enjoyed it too.
Some Rocketeers launched their birds with a piece of 18-gauge wire and a car battery. Not Ron Urensko. He spent months building the fabulous launch system he uses at the Lucerne monthly launches.
It's all constructed out of CMOS logic, and you got safety's on right now. It's kind of hard to see. You got safety on. Turn the key. Safety off. There's your volume control. You can kind of see right there. Then when you want to test the continuity to the rocket, you press continuity and it will beep really fast and give you an audible and a visual. So then you're ready. Then you hit armed. You hit armed, then when you're ready to launch, you hit launch. There's a timer that counts down 5 seconds. 5 seconds, it will ignite the rocket.
Looks like that's the way you found it.
Ignites the rocket. The rocket now is launched off. It will reset back to a pulse and mute the tone that is given.
How about your frequency dip switch there?
Frequency dip switch, there's 49 different frequencies you can choose from. And just by flipping, dipping switch gives you...
I like that.
And if you flip dip switch 8, it adds a little spunk to it. And if you use it in that mode, and you launch it, after the steady tone that happens, when it resets back, it'll just reset back to a pulse instead of the oscillation. That means like the rocket's all clear, safely away. And this is something I designed by myself and put it all together.
On the screen is the complete code for a specific solid propellant rocket engine. Previously, portions of the solid rocket motor classification system have been discussed. It's been shown that the letter in the engine code is the engine's total impulse classification rated in Newton seconds. And the number right of the letter is the engine's average thrust in newtons. This rocket engine information segment concerns the number right of the dash, which is the engine's delay time measured in seconds. A rocket's flight can be dissected into segments, defined by the burning area of the engine. When ignition occurs, the engine's propellant surface starts burning and thrusting. The thrust rises above the rocket's weight, so the rocket accelerates from the launch pad. Depending on the type of motor, a delay charge starts burning during thrusting or immediately after the propellant is consumed. This delay charge produces tracking smoke, which makes the rocket easier to see as it rises. During the coast phase, the engine is not producing any thrust. Usually the coasting time is much greater than the thrust time. For example, a C-65 burns for 1.7 seconds, yet its delay time is 5 seconds. During the coast period, the rocket slows to zero velocity and arcs over. When the delay charge is completely burned, the engine produces a small explosion. This ejection charge pressurizes the rocket's interior, pushing out a parachute or activating some other recovery system. and a safe recovery. Here's Tim Collins and Kyle Surge. The Estes motors, which go from A's to D's, are color-coded, and the motors for single-stage rockets have